Hello and welcome to SweetSpotDFS. This is a strategy video for the 2021 Honda Classic. Now, before we get into the video, I want to remind you guys timestamps are in the description below. Also, if you hover over the progress bar on YouTube, it's cut up into segments. Hovering over them will tell you what those segments are. Just a faster way to find timestamps. And another, before we get into the video, I want to apologize about the preview video yesterday. Most of it was good by my standards, but then once I got into the bucket system, I tried something new. It didn't go as great as I had hoped it would. It got a little messy, and I apologize for that. I need to do a better job of explaining what the bucket system is, because I still get questions on it, and I still get really just throughout discussion with friends and with followers. It's like, hey, love the stuff, but not quite sure what the bucket system is, or not sure what the buckets are. When you start talking about one thing, go to another, I get lost. So that's on me. And I apologize for that. I got to do a better job moving forward with that. I'm going to try to explain it simpler in this video. We covered the recent form and course history buckets yesterday. We did not go over the last year and last week bucket. We will be doing that in this one. I also forgot to mention grass stats, so we'll also be doing that in this video. And then we're basically going to be covering the same, or the typical things we do in the strategy video. So we're going to be looking at a course breakdown. We're going to be looking at time pairings, and then strokes gained buckets. And at the end of this video, I'll be running the optimizer to try to find out what are some good pairings. And really in this video, I'm going to focus on narrowing down and providing a strategy for you guys. I narrowed down a lot of picks and plays and just give you guys the information so you can bring it with you to, however you create lineups. But I am going to actually speak more of strategy. And perhaps this should be a live video, sometime in the future. That way I can get some audience engagement, and this can be a collective thing as opposed to me just speaking to you guys. So again, you can find timestamps in the description. Let's go ahead and get into this. We're going to start with the course breakdown. I know I kind of have the DK page up, but we're going to start here. Like I do in all these strategy videos, I'm not going to talk about every single hole. I'm going to let you read upon it if you are interested. I'm going to go, holes 1 through 9. You can read those on the screen right now. I'll scroll down 10 to 18. You can read those on the screen. What I find really interesting about this golf course is, first of all, there are a lot of dog legs. And it's not even like forced dog legs. It is the tees go straight ahead and the fairway just cuts across. Not so much, that was probably a bad description. But it almost makes like this type of, shape basically. So like the fairway goes out this way and the tee goes this way, but there are no trees in the way. There are also no, there is water. There's a lot of water on this golf course, but there isn't anything that's forcing a shot shape. There's no need. And a lot of the dog legs are from like 300 yards and greater. So unless a bomber is trying to, stay in the fairway, and by the way, the rough isn't going to be that penal at this golf course. It's only 2 inches thick. So really, there isn't a forced shot shape. So you can see every single hole off the tee says any. Doesn't matter what the shot shape is. But every shot into the green would be, not every shot, but you can see on the screen how many shots into the green are either fades or draws. And the biggest interest of mine is the fact that we have a couple draw holes on the front 9, and most of the finishing holes require a fade. Not so much require a fade, but really beneficial to hit a fade. And I joke, you can see right here on hole 18, just ask Tommy Fleetwood from last year. I couldn't think of a worse stretch of holes for Tommy Fleetwood than here at this golf course. Usually this tournament is super windy. Again, you should check for wind tomorrow. But yeah, Euro players probably play a little bit better in the wind since they're probably playing in those conditions over on the Euro Tour. I don't follow it close enough to know that for sure. It's just a common thing everybody else says. And I mean, I'm going to be the foolish one here just and joke about it. I'm an American, so it's not like I really know how Euro weather is. It's just hearsay, whatever I hear from. So, but it does kind of lend itself because there's more link style golf courses there. Wind, no matter what, is going to be more of a factor because link style usually means the absence or the absence of trees. So, and it's a lot of rolling hills. So yeah, I would give a leg up to Euro Tour golfers here because it is, from what we saw yesterday during the weather forecast, it's going to be a little windy. But yeah, still the stretch of holes here fade. And that's why I think Sung J M had such a great run at the end of the tournament last year to win this thing because they're all set up for his shot shape. So keep that in the back of your head, especially when you're trying to pick golfers you want to mold your lineups around. So, course breakdown, we got that covered. I'm trying to think if I want to go to the things we missed out on yesterday. Probably not. I think what I'm going to do is go into... Actually, we're going to talk about the SweetSpot score because I was going to go into Time Pairings, but the SweetSpot score is something that I do want to discuss first because that's going to play a huge factor in these Time Pairings and who I like and that kind of thing. So, SweetSpot score this week, I'm going to hide some of these columns because they are in the way, and I want to be able to move so you guys can see it. SweetSpot score consists of looking at the official World Golf Ranking. So all of the columns you see on here, we're looking at Bermuda average. This goes from back to 2013. So overall Bermuda, we're looking at the top 10% Bermuda. Course history, bogey avoidance, birdie or better. We did this last week at the Players. It absolutely meant nothing. So I don't know if we're really going to get an edge with these two statistics, but I'm going to try it here. I think this is actually a pretty decent golf tournament to do this with. And then we're looking at recent form average, DK average, scoring average. The best golfer in each of these stats, I'm trying to get as close to 100 points. So there are formulas in here that help me do that. And that is why you see, random numbers on there that wouldn't make sense to you. If you're thinking about the statistics itself, I'm trying to get the best guy in those statistics to 90 or to 100, basically. So all of those are totaled over here under the score, and then I rank them over on the left side. So it's just an easier way because I always look left to right when coming on the spreadsheet or looking at the spreadsheet. So if I sort from top to bottom, most of our $10,000 guys and above are right up at the top. And that's more of a, kudos to DraftKings for, I'm going to say for accurately pricing these guys. If we were to see, lower price guys up there, probably, I'm not saying my model's perfect, don't get me wrong, but I think like last week at the Players, we saw a couple 7K guys up here and a couple of the 9K. I can't remember if there was an 8K guy that was above a 10K guy, but still seeing these salaries here, it's a good sign that the tournament, the DraftKings was able to price these guys accordingly. So I'm not going to go through every one of these golfers, but this is your top 20 for SweetSpot rank. And I will say the rank has been pretty good over the last 3 weeks. We have seen like a 100th ranked golfer inside the top 10 of the leaderboards, that is. I think it happened at the Players. It also happened at the Arnold Palmer. But for the most part, for every golfer, I mean, this goes from rank 1 to 144. There's 144 golfers in this field. Usually, if we take 50% and up, so the top 50, they are primarily inside the top 10 and top 20. We really don't have any stragglers. Yeah, stragglers. From 50 and below. So we're looking at the top 50% for sweet spot score, and basically trying to build lineups around that. So we're going to be looking at that later on in the video. But all I'm trying to say is the score, the rank has been pretty spot on, pretty good. I'm not saying, ranks 1 through 20 are going to finish 1 through 20. But I do think the lower the rank, the more likely we will see them inside the top 10. I have seen missed cuts. I think last week Rory was ranked number 1. He missed the cut. So that can happen. But anyways, Sung Jae Im, number 1 ranked guy. I mean, I think it's well deserved. He's probably, really, he has a lot of golfers around him that you could say contend for the best golfer in this field, but he is really close. I mean, I would argue and say he's the best golfer in this field. But Daniel Berger's too, that works well with my model or with my thoughts already. I think Daniel Berger is the second ranked golfer behind Sung Jae Im. And then Adam Scott and Joaquin Niemann, like those two, I could switch interchangeably. I don't think there's really one that's better than the other. Lee Westwood's been running a heater lately, and Russell Henley is up there, which is kind of surprising in a way because Russell Henley was doing really well at the start of this season and kind of has cooled down. But I do like Russell Henley here. He is a past winner, so I think, he would be a decent play at this golf course, at this golf tournament. So yeah, that I'm not going to talk about the sweet spot score too much more than that. But what I will say that is this score is going to come into effect when it comes to looking at tee time pairings. And let's go ahead and get into those tee time pairings right now. So I'm going to sort from game 1 down. And if you watched the strategy video last week at the Players Championship, I had copied over the information incorrectly. You don't have to worry about that this week. I have almost quintuple checked. Like I made sure, I spot checked. So I looked at game 1, game 7, game 9, game 11, 14. They all matched. Then I went to the back end and looked at all the tee time pairings there and made sure the golfers matched up with their tee times that I saw on PGA Tour. So we're good. But basically what I'm going to do is the only way I'm talking about any of these tee time pairings is if all 3 golfers are highlighted with one of the colors I've chosen to highlight with. Dark green, by the way, here are the colors. If you can see them on the screen, it's probably a little small. Dark green means the scoring average and DK average are better than the field average. Light green, like we see here with Adam Hadwin, that means the DraftKings average for that golfer is better than the field average. And then yellow would be scoring average is better than field average. And really, if you want to know what those averages are, I don't do this usually, but I'll tell you. Field average for DK is 52.62. That is obviously the average of all DraftKings points, all players here with the DraftKings points. And then scoring average is 70.84. So again, that is for everyone in the field. So with those colors, the only way I'm talking about a group is if all 3 of them are highlighted with one of the colors. And we're going to see, I've highlighted the colors over on the left side. You might see some text colors. That is for StatementGames, and we're going to get to that at the end of this. Because those are matchups that I have highlighted, just an easier way to go through them. But let's go to our first group. It is Zach Johnson, Shane Lowry, and Phil Mickelson. You can see some of the colors here. Red usually isn't good. And we didn't go over the last week bucket. We'll do that after all of this or after the tee time pairings here. But 6s and 5s are no good. No good. You can see Zach Johnson's a last year 6 and a last week 5. I do like him here. I mean, the model likes him. He's 15th ranked in the sweet spot model. Being a last year 6 is going to basically restrict my amount of shares on him. So I'm not going to own him a lot, but I am going to, because he is a better than average golfer in this field. And for $7,400, I think it's a decent play. Now, Shane Lowry is a last year 5, last week 2. We're not looking at any of the other buckets right now, but he also is ranked pretty decently on the sweet spot score. I will also play him, but I'm not liking it, if I'm being honest with you. I don't care to play Shane Lowry. And Phil is your, when we need Phil to be on his best for control, he isn't. Like, maybe he's changed a little bit, but that whole, just hitting bombs mentality, he was doing that on golf courses like, say, like Pebble Beach, AT&T National, or not National, AT&T Pebble Beach, that tournament. He was also doing it at some other golf courses. I can't remember, like some other tight, narrow, tree-lined golf course. I can't remember if it was Genesis or if it was a different one. But when we need him to have a controlled game, he just goes the opposite way. I can't trust Phil, so I'm not going to play that much Phil. And just, all together for this group, I'm not going to have a lot of exposure to any of them. Because as much as they are highlighted, they're not highlighted with the dark green. Their DraftKings points are better than field average. So their scoring average, I guess what this is also saying is they're really good scorers when they're on. But you need them to make the cut in order to win a GPP, and you're not doing it if they're missing the cut. The next group is JT Poston, Richie Werenski, and Wesley Bryan. I already liked Wesley Bryan heading into this. He's $6,800. I think this is a perfect place for him. Like, he doesn't hit the ball very far, but his sub 70 scoring is usually, from the restart last year, was the best in the field. I think all the way up until the FedEx Cup playoffs. I think there was a tournament. No. It was the start of the new season. I think he had played 3 or 4 events and he just didn't do that great. But him shooting in the 60s is pretty common. So I like Wesley Bryan, especially at a hard track like this. I guess we could look at his bogey avoidance just to double check on that, which isn't terrible, but it also isn't good. You'd want to see a green color here for bogey avoidance. Birdie or better, though, like I said, scoring is pretty good. So I do like his chances. Now, I wouldn't say he's a grinded out golfer, and that's what I was saying yesterday in the preview video. That's who we want. So temper your expectations. But I already liked him, and the group that he's in is a decent group. It's all highlighted. They're all better than field average. At least we have Poston and Wesley Bryan, who are in both. They're better than field average in both scoring average and DraftKings points. So that's something I like. I don't mind Richie Werenski, and it's a low-priced, group. I'll probably be playing one of these guys. I don't know if I'm going to pair them up together, but I'll definitely be playing all 3 of them in different lineups. I think it's the best way to go. Our next group to talk about, and some of these aren't pretty, by the way. Rory Sabatini, Matthew NeSmith, and Luke List. They're all better than field average with DraftKings points and scoring average. I don't like any of them, honestly. Like Luke List, he's going to be a favorite all the time, but this kind of just shows how weak this Honda Classic field is when we're seeing Sabatini, NeSmith, and Luke List. Sabatini, I said this during the Players Championship, and also you saw some really fun stuff with like Jordan Spieth hitting into them accidentally. Everyone knows Rory Sabatini is one of the worst golfers to play with on tour. So for me, I'm staying away from this group. There might be some FOMO, but their last year bucket score isn't good. Rory Sabatini's last week bucket score isn't good either. It's just no good. I'm not playing that group. The next one is Taylor Gooch, Mark Hubbard, and Anirban Lahiri. Lahiri, surprisingly, is better than field average in scoring average and DraftKings points. Let's look over and see what that looks like. He's scoring 61.2 points in DraftKings points. That is 9 points over average, and his scoring average is 70.25, which is 0.6 shots underneath field average, which is decent. I guess let's see what his bogey avoidance is. 14.76. Like, he's in the green which means he's one of the top ones in the field. Obviously not the top. Russell Henley would be. And then birdie or better is good. So Anirban Lahiri, $6,300. If you wanted to pair him up with Taylor Gooch, if you like Gooch, what a great group to do it with. And Mark Hubbard's no slouch either. Last year he was, I think when the restart happened, he had the most consecutive rounds under par. Like whatever that golf course or the tournament, whatever the golf course was being played, he was under par. Like if it was a par 72, all you need to do is shoot 71. But he had the most consecutive rounds of golf under par. So he can get hot. And this is a par 70. Remember, DraftKings bonus, if you can get all 4 rounds under 70, you get an additional 5 points. So that is really good. Now, when it comes to DraftKings average, he is 9 points. I'm sorry. He's actually under DraftKings average, 50.25. And that field average is 70.84. He's just barely under that, or barely better than that. If we look at his bogey avoidance and birdie or better, he's right in the middle of the pack, basically. The yellow usually means 50 at 50%. So could do worse. So I like that group. The next one, Russell Henley, Harold Varner III, and Christopher Ventura. Russell Henley rates out really well in the model. This group altogether, I like. I think I might hold the little reservations on Christopher Ventura. I do like him as a player. I think he has a lot of potential. I'm not sure if this is the tournament I want to be playing him at. Has he played here before? No. So he's a rookie at this event. This is the first time playing. You can see that no course history, no last week or last year result. On Bermuda, he has an 11% frequency of finishing inside the top 10, so that's not terrible. But overall, Bermuda stats do not look good. So, as much as I like Russell Henley, I really don't like Varner, and I really don't like Christopher Ventura. So I don't think I'm really pairing any of these guys up, but it actually might be worth it. The next group. A lot of young kids here. What is the average age? Like 25 years old. 25 is the average age of Brandon Wu, Hank Lebioda, and Vincent Whaley. A lot of talk is on Brandon Wu. Sure, he's better than field average when it comes to DraftKings points. So is Vincent Whaley, but if I'm being quite honest, I don't think I'm touching this group. Maybe Brandon Wu in a couple lineups. I know a lot of people, like, again, he's very popular amongst most of the industry from what I've heard. He's going to be in one of my high entry fee lineups just for the fact of FOMO, but other than that, I don't know. I'm not sure. Actually, I do remember running the model or running the optimizer, and Brandon Wu showed up 20%. So maybe I will be playing some. I don't know. We'll see. Gut tells me not to, though. So there's that. Next group, I'm going to highlight it. I'm not going to talk about it. KH Lee, Von Taylor, Scott Stallings. I don't like it. Not talking about it. Going from there, we have Daniel Berger, Lee Westwood, and Keegan Bradley. Now, that is an interesting group. We all thought Westwood was going to withdraw. I guess it still is yet to be seen if he will. I do need to talk about withdraws because there have been several because of COVID. So I'll do that right after this. I'll have to remember. Or just if you're watching this, double check. Make sure you know who's withdrawn from this tournament. But either way, he hasn't. Westwood has not withdrawn. This group I like a lot. I like Keegan Bradley a lot. I like Lee Westwood a lot. I like Daniel Berger a lot. Daniel Berger, I know he's going to be a favorite of many, but this is a good tournament to play him at. I think this is close to his hometown or his home roots. This golf course, I mean, he hits a fade. This is perfect for him. It's wide open. He's going to do well here. So I feel like This is if you wanted to anchor a lineup around any of them, Daniel Berger, Keegan Bradley, Westwood, Keegan Bradley. You could even do Berger and Westwood together. I don't know how many people are going to be doing that combination, but it's not terrible. The next group after this is your savvy veteran group, who all three of them are ranking well in the model. Jim Furyk, 16th, Kevin Streelman, 17th, and they're in statement games. This is a matchup. This is a pairing. Like, pick your poison, basically. That's what this is. They're essentially like one of the same golfers. Furyk is $800 cheaper than Streelman. So, like, I think that's a really good idea to play Furyk, but why not play Streelman as well? Michael Thompson, he can be in one or two lineups. If you're making 100, I don't see an issue with that. And if you wanted to pair him up with either Furyk or with Streelman, I think that's okay too. But I'm probably not playing that much Thompson. I'm playing a lot of Furyk, and I'm probably playing a considerable amount of Streelman because it all works out. Scrolling down to our next group. I'm not talking about this group. Stricker, VJ, and Satoshi Kodaira. The fact that all three of them are better than field average of one stat is surprising. I mean, if any one of those three were replaced by William McGirt and they went into this one, we'd be talking about Nick Taylor, Bryce Garnett, William. Like, it's just happenstance that this is a group that was all highlighted. I'm not talking about them, but hey, if this helps you get on someone like a Steve Stricker or VJ Singh, more power to you guys. But it's not for me, not my cup of tea. Scrolling down here, this is an interesting group. I have nothing to say about these guys. Sepp Straka has been kind of disappointing as of late. So has Brian Stewart. The fact that his bucket score is a 6.5 is not good. Like, this dark red means stay away. Sure, he's $6,300, but I don't think I'm getting there. Harry Higgs had a decent showing at the Players. I think he was close to leading on one of the days. Obviously, he fell apart, but still showed up at a tough course. Maybe he does the same here. And maybe his game is trending in the right direction. Yeah, he finished 58th at, that was last year. He finished 29th at the Players. Stewart did make the cut and finished 58th, but I'm not touching Stewart. All right, is that it? That's the end of it. I feel like there should have been a Sungjae Im, Ricky Fowler group we should have been talking about. I must have a filter somewhere. Has to be. Oh no, it's right here. Oh my goodness. Sungjae Im, Ricky Fowler, Keith Mitchell. Ricky and Keith are not better than field average in the stats that I would use as highlights. So DK average 52.62, Ricky's at 52.46, and Mitchell's at 46.08. And then their scoring average is atrocious. Man, that's unfortunate. Like, I like him a lot this week. He's obviously number one in the model. I don't know if this will affect him. I really don't know if any three of those guys play bad, if it will affect them. Like, Keith Mitchell kind of goes around the golf course like he's always pissed off. Ricky Fowler he's always struggling. He's always in his own bubble. Actually, I think this would probably hurt Ricky Fowler more than any of the other two guys, because I think Sungjae is just gonna do his thing. A lot. He kind of reminds me a lot of Hideki. I always say Hideki's on his own island. I don't think really anything is going to bother Sungjae. I could be completely wrong. If this group implodes and Sungjae is affected by it, you can mark it, or we can archive that as Sungjae gets affected by his group. But it's interesting not seeing Sungjae Im highlighted. Obviously he is, but the other guys in his group are not. Crazy. There were a lot of other groups that were, a couple of them were highlighted. I mean, one of them I saw here was Stuart Sink and Russell Knox with Tyler Duncan. There are also a couple like really good ranked golfers altogether. Like, this is a pretty decent group. It's just the fact Ian Poulter isn't isn't highlighted is the reason I didn't talk about him, but I like this group a lot, and really the overall ranks combined, this is probably like the third best group in the field. Should have talked about them, but obviously ended up not. And maybe what I'll do from now on is just go by the SweetSpot rank and not by scoring average and DraftKings. We'll see. But I think that is going to cover Time Pairings. Let's go ahead and get into our statement games, our statement game matchups. Now, unfortunately, I think there's a technical issue with visiting the Statement Games website. It just goes to their blog. You can't see, like, you can't get to the actual games. I tried. Maybe it's user fault, but I can't. I'm not going to show it on here because it just doesn't apply. All right, it's just not going to be worth it. But I do have my matchups selected by text color. So the first one is Adam Scott versus Chris Kirk. I like Adam Scott over this one. Obviously, he ranks the best out of the two. They're really close. They're all top 10, or they're both top 10 rated in this model. They're both in groups that don't have all three with that criteria I was talking about of being either better on field average with DraftKings points or scoring average, although both of those guys are. It's just I probably trust Adam Scott's game right now a little bit better than Chris Kirk. I really like Chris Kirk, but I'm going to give the nod to the wily veteran. They're both last week fives, which means they both finished in that 40 to 60 range at the players. They actually both tied. I'm still going to give the slight nod to Adam Scott, though. Let's get into the next one. We have Cameron Tringali and Taylor Gooch. And usually I would take the SweetSpot, like the lower the SweetSpot rank, that's the guy I'm going to choose. I'm going with Taylor Gooch this time. He is in a group that all three of them have a better field average or better either DraftKings average or scoring average than field average. So I think he's just set up better. He's in a better group. His bucket score for last week is better. Obviously, I should probably expand this a little bit. Yeah, I mean, he's also 7th ranked when it comes to the average bucket score. I like Taylor Gooch in this matchup over Cameron Tringali. And our last statement, or last matchup, is Wyndham Clark versus Matt Jones, and I'm picking Wyndham Clark. He's double. He's better than he's ranked better than Matt Jones by over double his score, basically. When it comes to the buckets, they're pretty much, I guess Matt Jones has a better rank when it comes to the average bucket score. I just like Wyndham Clark's upside just a bit more. And that's kind of how this is probably more of a gut play. I think maybe the smart play, now that I look at it this way, is to go that route. But let's double check this. Maybe I'll change my mind on the spot here. A big stat I'm going to go is with bogey avoidance and birdie or better. So Matt Jones, more of a grinded out golfer. Wyndham Clark, more of a scoring golfer. I think Wyndham Clark's course history is pretty decent. Yeah, 9. He's played this event twice, and his average finishing position is 9th. I'm going to go ahead and I'm staying with Wyndham Clark. I like Wyndham Clark. He kind of struggled last week. Did he miss the cut? Yeah, he missed the cut. I'm not going to take that as a detriment. I think that's okay. You can also see, Matt Jones from last week didn't really have he just strung along a bunch of pars. So let's just hope that Wyndham Clark finds whatever he's missing and get into playing this tournament well. So let's go ahead, open this back up. Notable withdraws. I actually removed them from this list, but from what I can remember, Gary Woodland is out. I have my DraftKings up here. Gary Woodland withdrew because he had COVID. No. Yeah, I think it was COVID. As did Doc Redman and Scott Piercy. So make sure if those 3 golfers are still in your pool to get rid of them. Those are your notable withdrawals. I think from here, the best... I think the best path that I think, just so everything can flow together nicely, because this isn't going to flow. This should have been yesterday with course history, but the video went so long yesterday that I couldn't incorporate it. So we're gonna go over grass stats is what I'm trying to get at, and we're gonna be looking at top to bottom what the best overall Bermuda average is at this tournament. Now you can see we have some golfers here with 2 and 1 event under their belt. Ignore that, because that isn't a big deal. Like, this is too low of a number to get excited by. And I think that's also what is making Brandon Wu's number so good. I have to include some kind of filter when it comes to events lower than 4, typically. But I'm going to go ahead and get rid of something like this. There we go. And now look from here, top down. Sungjae Im, your best Bermuda golfer in the field with, say, over 20 events under his belt. 33 flat, 30% frequency of finishing inside the top 10. And this year, his Bermuda stats aren't terrible. They're not good, but they're not terrible. That's followed by Ian Poulter. And you can see the rest of them on the screen. I highly recommend just pausing the video, reading the names. But it helps me figure out, like, I really like Sungjae. Ian Poulter's not a bad choice. Neither is Adam Scott. I like all 3 of those golfers. Daniel Berger's up there. Denny McCarthy, a really good 6K golfer, is up there. There's our guy Jim Furyk that we were just talking about. Chris Kirk, Joaquin Niemann, Russell Henley. They all are within the top 20. When it comes to top 20 golfers in a stat category, usually you're going to find somewhere between 6 to 8 of them finishing inside the top 20. So I think you could probably find a good nuclei of golfers from here and kind of rolling with them. Now, I can't say with full certainty that happens at every single tournament, but I've never seen less than 3. So I can say at least 3 of these guys are going to be inside the top 20, if not the top 10. So some of these guys I think we can just mark off. Like, I'm not playing any Henrik Stenson. I'm probably not playing any, like, if I'm anchoring my lineups around anybody, it's obviously not going to really be any 7 or 6K guys, although you can find some good value there. It's definitely not going to be Henrik. It's not going to be Zach Johnson. Unfortunately, I've said this in the past, Steve Stricker, too old to have the longevity of 4 rounds of golf putting it together. He might be up there on the leaderboard after 3 rounds, but with 4 rounds, it's probably not good. So I'd probably cut him. I'd also cut Austin Cook. Anyone that's a 6, I'll probably also cut Jimmy Walker. And the rest of the golfers that are on here, I think are okay. I probably wouldn't even play Jason Duffner, to be honest. So I'd probably get rid of those guys and only stick with the ones that are not highlighted. So Sungjae Im, Ian Poulter, Adam Scott, Ricky Fowler, Daniel Berger, Denny McCarthy, Alex Noren, Jim Furyk, Benny Ann, Ryan Moore, Chris Kirk, Joaquin Niemann, and Russell Henley. Like, obviously, they're already good golfers, but I think if you're trying to find a pool of golfers to build lineups around, that's a good place to look. I always kind of come up with the rule of playing golfers that have at least 5% or greater when it comes. So let's actually look at the golfers who are not 5% or greater when it comes to top 10% frequency. A lot of golfers here that are under 5%, it looks like. So we have a total of 37 golfers. Brandon Wu would lead the way when it comes to, well, let's look at salary top down. This is going to help a little bit better. Doug Gim, 0% on Bermuda. 14 events. So if there's ever a reason to fade Doug Gim, this is probably it. Brandon Wu, Eric Van Rooyen, Matthew Neesmith, another, I mean, we talked about him during the Time Pairings. Good reason to fade him. James Hahn, he's getting a lot of traction amongst many of the people out there. It's probably a good reason to fade him as well. Maverick McNeely, Nick Taylor, Harry Higgs, Mark Hubbard, all interesting names. And then now we go into the 6K range, which, I mean, 6K is more of your lottery ticket. I'm not going to talk about any of those guys. But if we select all and then get rid of these guys and look to see who are golfers that remain, remember we just got rid of 37 golfers. And if we're looking salary top to bottom, you know, we have most of our 9K and above guys here. Like, we really didn't get any. We got rid of 2 golfers. That was it. And I really don't think there's an issue anchoring any of your lineups with any of these guys. We even have a Matt Wallace sighting up here, 9.09%, finishing inside the top 10 at Bermuda track. So not terrible. So that's the Bermuda stats. I'm not going to go over any more of that. Let's go ahead and get into kind of finishing the last little spot of the bucket system. And this is actually a really good point. I know a lot of people skip past this, so I'm going to reward you guys that are actually listening to this. I am going to give away my optimizer for the Honda Classic as well as the Masters. Now, last week or yesterday, that doesn't include the Masters. However I did. So if you're one of those that got the optimizer yesterday and you want it for the Masters, you're going to have to follow these rules as well. On Twitter, I totally forgot to say this yesterday. On Twitter, I need you to be following me. I need a like from the video that I post and a share. I need those 3 things. And then I will contact you and see if you're interested in the optimizer. I will need your email address to send the optimizer to you. I can't just drop it into the DMs and give it to you that way. You will need to have Microsoft Excel. If you don't have the full version, it's not going to work for you. On YouTube, what I need is I need a like. First of all, I need you to be subscribed. Then I need a like, and I want to hear your opinion about the bucket system in the comments below. Does it make sense to you? If it doesn't, that's totally fine. I'm looking for good, honest feedback. So if you need me to explain it a little bit better, if you want me to make more time to explain it, let me know. If you want me to take less time explaining it, I will also do that. Just give me some good feedback in the comment section. And then unfortunately, you're going to have to reach out to me for my email, and the email's in the description below. So the little show more button that's there in the description, just click that. You're going to find the email down there. It's SweetSpotDFS@gmail.com. But yes, you're going to have to reach me unless your email is linked to your YouTube account. And yes, you can actually show that information. But either way, if you don't and you don't want to have, your email being shown on your YouTube, that's fine. Email me at SweetSpotDFS@gmail.com. Okay. That was a little long-winded, but those are the requirements to get this optimizer, not only for the Honda Classic, but also for the Masters. So the bucket system. The bucket system is me analyzing the top 10 of every week. So if I go and I look at, keep these numbers in mind. This is looking at top 5, and this is probably where the confusion comes in. I always have 2 tables of data for last year and last week. One is top 5 and one is top 10. I really should just get rid of the top 5 because I don't use this when talking to you guys. This just helps me reinforce what bucket shows up inside the top 5 more often than any of the other buckets. So I could see that golfers who did not play last year show up inside the top 5, meaning I probably want to focus on that bucket, to try to find the guy who I want to anchor my lineups around. Or perhaps this is more of a lottery ticket, and I'll get more into that. But let's look here. Last year bucket, okay? We're going to focus on 2020 and look at these numbers right here. So when I go to the 2020 recent form page, when I analyze the top 10, obviously what I'm doing is I'm getting rid of everyone outside the top 10. Right? So we're just looking at these golfers. I'm analyzing what their last year finish was. So this is from last week, or not last week. This is from the 2019. I should say the result you see here is from 2019. And the best way I can do this is Russell Henley finished 20th. If I go to 2019 and scroll down to 20th, we're going to see Russell Henley here. Right here, Russell Henley. So he finished 20th in 2019. That's why this is populated in this last year column as 20th. So what I do with this information is I capture it. So there was one guy who finished 20th or better in the 2020 field from the year before. When I look at the buckets and I come here, I have one populated right there. This goes, and it goes by ranges. I do every 20th place. So 0 to 20, or 1 to 20 really. 20 to 40, 40 to 60, 60 to 80, 80 plus, which is usually missed cuts and withdraws, and then golfers who did not play. Having 6 buckets makes things very convenient. I also like it anyways because the difference between, I mean, you could say this about, okay, so let me say this first. The difference between 16th and 18th doesn't really matter. You finish top 20. If you finish 22nd, you can make the argument that 18th and 22nd isn't that big of a deal. But the fact is, finishing inside the top 20 is a better feat than finishing outside the top 20. Same thing goes with top 10. Did you know most golf tournaments, if you finish top 10 in the PGA Tour, you're automatically invited to the next tournament? So people care more about top 10s than they do, say, top 20s. Going by every 10th place would be a nightmare. And we wouldn't really find good statistics with that. So I have it every 20th place. So hopefully you're following me. And the reason I do this is because as a competitive golfer myself, if I've played well at a tournament the year before, I mean, I'm coming in with good vibes. And I want to record that. Like, I'm trying to record that on the PGA Tour. That volatility people are talking about, the fact that, oh, wow, you know, we were talking about strokes gained off the tee being the biggest stat, and only 2 guys inside the top 30 of strokes gained off the tee finished inside the top 20. Why is that? I'm trying to record that in different ways. One of them is looking at their last year performance, and that's where the last year bucket comes in. So all of this right here, this is the last year bucket table. This is all the information about last year buckets. The same applies for last week. And so, again, it's just me analyzing and finding the frequency of these finishing positions inside the top 10. That's it. And then obviously I have these percentages over here that provide a little bit more confidence, I would say. And maybe some of these are, you know, not necessary. Like this, I'm thinking about removing because all this shows you is the percentage of this bucket compared to the rest of the bucket, like as a total. I don't know how really all that matters. You know, you see an 8 and you see a 28. Obviously 28 is going to dominate, you know, the rest of these, but maybe you want to see the percentage. What does that look like as a percentage, you know, against everyone else in that or every other bucket finishing range inside that bucket? This one to me, a little bit more important. This is looking at the total number of I want to say golfers, but I mean, these do represent golfers, but they're finishing positions, right? How many finishing positions between 1 and 20 happened at this tournament? 8 is being divided into that, and it's 6.25%. So this, I wouldn't get so much caught up in. All I want you guys to know is the ranking here is used on my spreadsheet. So when I look at 2021, you know, Sung J M he's a last year bucket 4 golfer. And when we look at the buckets, last year bucket 4 means they finished between 1 to 20. And guess what? We know Sung J M won the tournament last year. So that means he's a last year bucket 4. He finished in that finishing range. And that's why he's designated that bucket score. So that's how the bucket scores are given. And again, it's me analyzing top 10s every single year and trying to come up with, it's more of a confidence rating. That's all that I can think of calling it. If you guys have a better term, let me know. But it is a confidence rating. So if you see a 4, not as good as if you see a 1. But again, you have to determine if that last year 1 is any good. So if I sort this by last year 1s, are we looking at Adam Scott and Will Gordon in the same light? No. Obviously, Adam Scott's much better. But if Will Gordon does show up inside the top 10, the writing was on the wall. I mean, you have to play your percentages anyways. There are, 40 golfers in this last year bucket 1. And if we look at the buckets themselves, we never see more than 5 finish inside the top 10. But we at least see 2 every single year. And that's what I'm trying to inspire, and also I'm gonna show, you're gonna see 2020, our last year 1, Tommy Fleetwood 11.6. Then Lee Westwood was 7,800, and he was the other last year 1 that finished inside the top 10. But we also have Mark Hubbard down here at 6,700, and Luke Donald, by the way, 6,200. Never really have heard of Luke Donald, within the last couple of years. But at this tournament, he finished 11th. He was 1 place away from being included in with the bucket system. Again, we're only looking at top 10 finishes. So that is kind of how I do the bucket system. Hopefully that made sense. What I just explained should be in a different video and not explained here because I can obviously see the time. And it's running long, but I just wanted to provide this. So when we're looking at last year buckets, your number 1 bucket for this tournament is did not plays. Obviously, we went through that. Number 2, golfers who missed the cut. So if you're worried about someone missing the cut last year, guess what? It actually shows up inside the top 10 more frequently than any of a better finishing position. So don't be afraid of playing guys who missed the cut last year. Number 3 bucket, 40 to 60, which is surprising to me. Usually it would be the 1 to 20s, but 40 to 60 kind of just tells you, last year having a middling finishing position, not terrible. And then obviously last year bucket 4 is 1 to 20. And you can see the totals here, what that percentage is in comparison to its own bucket. And go with that. Now, when we look at the last week buckets, obviously this is that table. Your number 1 is golfers who did not play. Number 2, 1 to 20. So last week bucket 2, your 1 to 20s from last week. So we're talking about the Players Championship. So whoever top 20'd at the Players Championship, a good chance to top 10 at this tournament. Number 3 is 20 to 40. Number 4 is missed cut, and so on and so forth. So with that information, we can look at the 2021 DK page and say to ourselves, okay, I think one of the easier ones to actually look at are golfers who top 20'd last week. To me, it's just an easier one to look at because I know not a lot of golfers top 20 last week. We have 5 golfers. Now, if that seems low to you, I keep that information down here with how many actually, so out of this bucket, on average, we usually have 9. So it is low. It is low on average. It's showing that it's 6. Is that correct? Do I have a filter on again? I don't think so. I'm wondering where it's finding just why it's finding 6 and not 5. 2021. I see what happened. Dang it. Hate when this stuff breaks like this. None of this should be I to J. This should just be H. There. So it updated to 5. Perfect. Great. Let's see what the rest of them are. 130. That's good. Perfect. Okay. So yeah, 5 of them. On average, 9.83. Something happened, didn't it? I hit a button and something on the recording thing happened. Whatever. Okay. Anyways, 5 of them. That's less than usual. If we were trying to find a tournament that looked the same, 2020 and 2019 happened just similar to that. So what happened in 2020 and 2019? Or 2020, 2019? 2 golfers each for each tournament finished inside the top 10. So I think if we follow that logic and we look at, of these golfers, who do we think is going to finish inside the top 10? I think you can find 2 of these guys. So I am going to anchor my lineups in several different ways with these guys. I mean, to me, it's going to be Sung Jae. I think Sung Jae and Daniel Berger probably have the best opportunities. But if I do a Sung Jae, if I lock in Sung Jae for, say, 30 lineups, I would say a good amount of them are going to have, one of these guys in it with him. And same goes with Daniel Berger. I'll probably just grab the guys underneath him. And if I do Lee Westwood, it'll be these guys. I already said I like Taylor Gooch. Taylor Gooch and Sung Jae M seem like a good pairing to put together. So that is probably the easiest bucket to highlight and to look at. And that is probably where I'm going to start, is looking right here. Now, when it comes to some of these other buckets that are like your number 1 buckets, really difficult because this is more of a volume play. We have typically 54 golfers in this did not play bucket for last year bucket. And we typically have 59 golfers who fit in the last week bucket ones. So the did not play range. Now we have less, and there's a reason for that. I said that in the preview. It's because of COVID in each of these. So we actually might see less finish inside the top 10, maybe 1 or 2 less. But when we look, we have a min of 2 for last year, and we also have a min of 2 for last week when it comes to these bucket scores. Last week bucket 1 and last year bucket 1. So I'm not going to actually try to tackle that one. That one will be a little bit more tricky and difficult to look. I think probably the better ones to look at are last week bucket 3s. It's a large number, 16.67% of golfers in that bucket finish inside the top 10. So usually on average we have 12. We have 12 this year. So finding 2 guys, maybe, is that what we're looking for? No, there's a min of 1 and a max of 2. So we're trying to find 1 or 2 that also fall under that bucket. And this would be, I'm just going to select them because it's not going to be difficult to do that. Basically between 20 and 40. Right? That's what it is. I'm sorry, it's between 40 and 60. I was wrong. So just these guys here. We're trying to pick 1 or 2. Well, look at that. Adam Scott and Chris Kirk show up. I really like Brendan Steele. I guess I don't mind starting lineups with, say, a Sung Jae and maybe a Chris Kirk, or maybe we grab 2 of the guys from that bucket, one of these low price guys. James Hahn obviously it was being talked up. I've obviously talked you down on him, but maybe not a bad play. I think Denny McCarthy's probably staring a hole at me though. Denny McCarthy, probably a decent play if I'm going to go with someone. So I think those are probably good ways to think about it. Now, let's go ahead and go into strokes gained buckets. Hopefully that bucket system was helpful for you guys, like explaining it that way. I'm not positive how it sounded. It sounded good to me as I was saying it, but who knows? When we do strokes gained buckets, I actually updated it so now you can see things a little bit better. Strokes gained bucket 1 is everything is positive. That means all the strokes gained categories are positive for that golfer. Strokes gained bucket 2 is positive off the tee, positive putting with negative approach and or negative around the green. Strokes gained bucket 3, positive off the tee, negative putting. Strokes gained bucket 4, negative off the tee plus positive putting. 5 is negative off the tee, negative putting. And 6 is no strokes gained. We typically never see golfers in this bucket finish inside the top 10 or even top 20. So obviously, if you're on Martin Keimer or Brandon Wu or even Ryan Moore, maybe it's a good time not to play any of those guys. I'm going to have FOMO with Martin Keimer. I think I'm going to have to play him in 1 or 2 out of 100 lineups and probably play Brandon Wu in 1 or 2 out of 100 lineups. The rest of them, I'm just Xing out. So we can get rid of 14 guys in our player pool. These 14 guys, not touching them. And I have how many you should pick right all in here. So if you were reading that, I would say pick 1 to 3 for most of these. I mean, 1, 2, or 3 of these strokes gained buckets and go from there. So if we're picking one from here, I already X'd out Doug Yim. I'm probably not going to play Patton Kizzire. That leaves Joaquin Niemann and Russell Henley. And Taylor Gooch. It's a good reason, another good reason to play Taylor Gooch. He was that last week bucket 3 or 3. No. Yeah, last week bucket 3. He also was, I already forgot. He was in, what was it? Was he in the last year buckets as well? No, he was the last year bucket 5. That's why he's colored red. Man, I can't remember. But there was another reason why I like Taylor Gooch. So between these 3 guys, I'm going to call it right now. One of these guys finishes top 10. Going on to the next one, there's Sung Jae and Daniel Berger. Pick one. Honestly, like, I think if I'm going to do this 30-30-30 route that I talked about in the review video for the players, which means, if I'm creating 100 lineups, 30 of them are going to be anchored by one guy. The next 30 are going to be anchored by another guy. And the next 30 is going to be anchored by a third guy. And then just build lineups that way. Sung Jae Im and Daniel Berger are probably going to be on opposite sides. But I will be playing some of them interjectively. I will be playing some Sung Jae and Daniel Berger. It'll be a percentage. I'm not sure how much, but I do like them together. And I'm not afraid to do that stars and scrub because we saw that with the optimal lineups yesterday. Usually you want 2 6K golfers in your lineup for the optimal lineups. When it comes to, trying to select these guys, it's pretty difficult. 1 to 3 out of here, 1 to 3 out of here. We have Wesley Bryan, one of my favorites. There's Denny McCarthy, another good reason to play Denny McCarthy. He's showing up now quite a bit. Daniel Berger, Sung Jae Im, like those guys. Even Cameron Davis. I'm going to take Cameron Davis off. We did talk about Wyndham Clark, and we did talk about Will Gordon, obviously, with the last year one. But yeah, Wesley Bryan, not terrible. When it comes to the strokes gained bucket 3, usually I only see a max of 3, but sometimes, we can see more. So there is potential that this bucket is large. It is, I think, the second biggest strokes gained bucket that we have. So the chances of finding 3 in this bucket finishing inside the top 10 is probably going to be pretty good. And I mean, Brendan Steele, Chris Kirk, Keegan Bradley, really like those guys. I guess Luke List wouldn't be a terrible choice. We did talk about Keith Mitchell maybe being a decent play. And then we're kind of getting down to the low 6K guys, which you shouldn't be afraid of because 6100 has placed second at this tournament before. I think that was Mackenzie Hughes last year. Strokes gained 4, we don't find a lot. I think the most I've ever seen is 4 from this bucket inside the top 20. This is your third, or this is your second largest bucket. The last one we talked about was a third. The largest one is the strokes gained bucket 5. Peter Malnati always shows up here. He doesn't hit the ball very far, so he's never going to be gaining off the tee. Hoagie is here. He had a good players championship. There's James Hahn. So if you're seeing multiple guys you like in this bucket, I think you need to reassess who you're on, because you don't want most of your guys from this bucket. Like, I like Adam Scott, but I don't think I'd want to pair him with a Tom Hoagie or a Peter Malnati unless I feel really strong, like confident that either of those two guys can get it done. But all this really does for me is if I am going to select any of these two guys to anchor around, it's going to be really difficult to pair them up with any of these guys. And I certainly wouldn't want to pair one of the high-priced guys with any of these high-priced guys, because as we go left to right, the confidence rating goes down. So when we get to like 5, Benny Ann is 8,000. That's, he's 12th ranked in the model. And Russell Knox isn't a terrible play either. Neither is, Furyk is my guy. Like, I really like Furyk this week, as do I know a few of you guys out there. But, I'm probably picking one guy, maybe two guys from this bucket, and that's it. So when it comes to ownership, when I set my ownerships, these guys are going to be like under 3%, most of them. Yeah, it's going to be something like that. And then my 6s, like I said, I'm not touching those guys. So really, out of here, that's 39 golfers in that bucket, and altogether 55 golfers we could probably just X out just from their buckets alone for strokes gained. And just to give you kind of, a little bit of visual evidence why we do this kind of thing, or why I do this kind of thing. Again, it's all about looking at the frequency of top 10 finishes for any of the buckets I talk about. Let's go ahead and just hide this stuff too. I just want to look at strokes gained. And like last year I had so much data that I was looking at. But when we look from year to year and we look at off the tee stats, and we're looking, oh my gosh, top 10s. There you go, top 10. So we're looking at off the tee, and this is where top 10 finishes. Right here. Here. I don't know why I do this. I always forget to do this. But if we're just looking at top 10s and we're looking off the tee, we see 2 negative golfers. Now, in order for them to be strokes gained bucket 5 golfers, they need to have negative off the tee, or negative putting as well, which both of them do. Russell Henley and Mackenzie Hughes. We know Mackenzie Hughes to be a better putter than what is being shown here. But yeah, that would be 2 strokes gained bucket 5 golfers. Now we don't see any other negative off the tee golfers in the field. We do see a strokes gained bucket 6 golfer in Lee Westwood, so this could be your Martin Keimer guy right here. It's a Euro guy. I don't have strokes gained stats for him, so that's why he falls into that strokes gained bucket 6. But ignoring this guy and just focusing on off the tee, look at how many positive off the tee guys there are. Only 3 golfers within the 10 that are on the screen either had no off the tee stats or negative. Now, what we do with this is we pair it up with putting. So if it's positive putting, like the ones that I have highlighted there, what we need to then look at is how many of them are completely positive across the board. And I think it's only Daniel Berger. So he would be a strokes gained bucket 1 guy. Your strokes gained bucket 2 guys would have negative stats either approach or around the green. So that would be Sung Jae. He would have been a strokes gained bucket 2. As would Brendan Steele and Gary Woodland. And then the remaining guys that I've highlighted that we haven't talked about, like Benny Ann, he'd be a strokes gained bucket 3 guy. as would Cameron Davis. They would both be strokes gained bucket 3 guys. So we had 2 strokes gained bucket 3s. We had 3. Okay, hold on. Let's start from left to right. We had 1 strokes gained bucket 1 guy, and that was Daniel Berger. We had 3 strokes gained bucket 3 guys. That was Sung Jae, Brennan Steele, Gary Woodland. Was there another one that I'm missing? I said strokes gained bucket 3. I meant there are 3 strokes gained bucket 2 golfers. 4. There are 4 strokes gained bucket 2 golfers. And then when we look at 3s, strokes gained bucket 3, we got these 2. Yeah. We have those 2 golfers as your strokes gained bucket 3. No strokes gained bucket 4. Strokes gained bucket 5, we have 2. And then we have a strokes gained bucket 6. So that was looking at the 2020. I don't think I'm going to have this for 2019. Oh, I do. Perfect. I'm glad I updated it. Sometimes I forget to do that. But if we look at 2019 to validate what we just kind of went over, and we look at everyone inside the top 10, again, we have several positive off the tee guys. I don't know if we have. Oh, we have one all the way positive guy. That was Lucas Glover. Yeah, that's it. Just 1 strokes gained bucket 1 guy. He was $8,800. So keep that in mind. From there, what do we have? We have. Let's actually uncheck him now. Do we have any other positive putting? So here's a strokes gained 2. Here's another strokes gained 2. So 1 strokes gained 1 golfer. 2 strokes gained 2 golfers. Oh, I'm sorry, 3. 3 strokes gained 2 golfers. So let's get rid of them. And then this would be strokes gained 3, strokes gained 3, strokes gained 3. So 3 strokes gained 3 golfers. Of the negative off the tee, here we go. We have a strokes gained 4. We have another strokes gained 4. So no strokes gained 5. So you can see the volatility with that group of golfers when it comes to strokes gained 4 and strokes gained 5. And then we do have some strokes gained 6 golfers in here. Sergio being a high-priced Euro guy. So, hey, again, Martin Keimer, not terrible. But then we had an old-timer in Vijay Singh, who was not a regular guy on tour at that time. So we still had our 1 strokes gained 1 golfer. We had a variation. No, we had 3 strokes gained 2 golfers in each of those 2 tournaments. So I think it's likely we're going to see the same thing here. Let's see here. No, we're going to 2021. Okay. So it's already been a long video, 1 hour, 13 minutes. I think from here, we're just going to go. I mean, there's nowhere else to go than the optimizer. So for me, I mean, we kind of already went through it. Sung Jae or Daniel Berger is a lock. And then I think it was like Taylor Gooch was another guy. So if we did our best, by the way, what you see on the screen, Sung Jae, Brennan Steele, Wyndham Clark, Russell Knox, Henrik Norlander, and Denny McCarthy, all great players. And I think they all fit our mold. I'm not sure where Henrik Norlander sits, but this would be the optimal lineup just by running it once with no real constraints other than really the SweetSpot results or defaults, as I would call them, on the screen. If I wanted to set some of these conditionals, I think, this might just be stuck to, 3 is good. I'm staying with 3. 4 is good. 3 for strokes gained. This probably should be a 4 now. Strokes gained bucket 4. We'll keep to 2. We didn't see more than 2, and then 1 6. Yeah, that's perfect. Really didn't go over recent form or course history that much. So we're going to leave that as is. I think if there was another one to add to this, hold on, let's look. So I want to look at my minimums. So last year 3, last year 2 and 1. last week 2, and last week 1 are my minimums. So I could go and set those right now. I've already forgotten. 3, 2, 1. We're just going to keep those all at 1. So we can switch this to a 1 and click and drag down. I don't like that. Let's stop doing that. Copy, paste. And then we can also do that here. Perfect. And run the optimizer and see what it looks like. So we are locking in Sungjae and Taylor Gooch. Run that optimizer, see what it's going to spit out. And not a terrible lineup. We have Denny McCarthy up there again with Russell Knox as well. Rafa Cabrera Bale comes into the picture with Kevin Streelman. That's not terrible. And if I keep running this, what I'm going to end up doing is just save this. Let's see what the next optimal lineup is, because this will get rid of some of these guys. And maybe we can find better plays than what we just see, or what we see on there. All right, now we're including Henrik Norlander and Wyndham Clark, which that is totally fine by me. Rafael Campos, though, I don't think that's someone I really care to play. In fact, I'm going to go and X him out right now. I have no confidence in Rafael Campos. So Scott Brown gets replaced. Actually, a few of these guys get removed. So now that's Brennan Steele, Matt Jones, Will Gordon, and Scott Brown, which is fine. I think we can save that. Now, if I switch this to, say, Daniel Berger, who will show up? Oh, Grayson Murray. There's no way I'm playing Grayson Murray. No shot. Gross. I'm going to get burned by that, I'm sure. But I'm not playing Grayson Murray. No way. Steve Stricker now joins. With Michael Thompson, they're playing together. No. Michael Thompson's playing with Jim Furyk and Kevin Streelman. But Wyndham Clark is up there again. So 8,000 Wyndham. Sure, we'll save him. That's fine. Let's see what the next one will be. This will get rid of some of these other guys and bring in some new ones. I want to see some of these names, see how lineups are constructed. Benny Ann, Brandon Wu. Hey, there's our one Wu guy, or what? Our one Wu play. Harry Higgs, Adam Schenk. It's fine. I'm actually going to remove Gooch and see what it looks like putting together Sungjae and Daniel Berger. Sungjae, Daniel Berger, Alex Noren, James Hahn, Harry Higgs, and DJ Trahan. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to play DJ Trahan either. Like, I get it why he was selected, because he's a low-price guy, and obviously the optimal lineup is like, hey, if you want Daniel Berger and Sungjae M, this is the most optimal lineup. I don't think so. I'm not going with DJ Trahan. Are we just continuously picking DJ? Did I put a no for him or a yes? Oh, I put a yes. Sam Ryder. I can live with that. I can live with what I see. Sungjae, Daniel Berger, Alex Noren, Richie Wierenski, Jim Furyk, and Sam Ryder. I don't mind that one. I think if we were going to look at our strokes gained buckets and select from this, maybe we do something like put Adam Scott with Sungjae and see what that ends up looking like. So if I went Adam Scott, Sungjae, and somebody from here. Oh man, I don't think we can. I think we want one of these guys for sure. So I don't know if I can even anchor my lineup that way. Like Taylor Gooch was the guy that we were just doing it with. That's why we selected Taylor. Okay. Let's go with Russell Henley then. This actually, I don't mind putting these guys together. Russell Henley and Sungjae, what kind of lineup can you create for me? Kevin Chappell, Adam Schenk, Benny Ann, Dylan Fratelli. You know what? I want to see at least one 7K guy. And I probably would change that. I'd probably put 2 6K guys. I don't want to see more than 2. It's an interesting lineup. Sung Jae, Russell, Bradley, King Bradley, James Hahn, Harry Higgs, and Jamie Lovemark. I don't mind Lovemark. So let's save. I want to see one more because it's obviously going to remove Lovemark and Higgs now, as well as Hahn, and see what it will select. Now we have Brandon Wu, Phil Mickelson, Tom Lewis, and Adam Schenk. So Schenk shows up once more. How is that possible? Maybe he wasn't saved before. 6,700 Schenk. Yeah, he has a pretty high metric, so that makes sense. Hoagie has a very low one. I might have to bump that up. Now we have all 7K guys. That's not terrible. Im, Henley, Wu, Mitchell, Taylor, Lewis. Not terrible. What about Mr. Daniel Berger? The thumbnail. We'll end it here. The thumbnail has Berger and Henley on it. Let's see. Still includes Phil Mickelson, Keith Mitchell, Tom Lewis. You know what? We're going to force that out and just put 3 here. Now it has to select a 6K guy or, well, it's going to have to select a 6K guy. I'm probably going to break it. Nope. It's actually not terrible. Benny Ann, Phil, Tom Lewis, John Huh. How about one more? One more just to see how it will change things up. Vaughn Taylor, Luke List, Patton Kazire, Brandon Wu. That's not terrible. I'm going to delete all lineups and see what it'll run now with everyone cleared out because it goes by ownership, how I have ownership set. Denny McCarthy shows up. Rafa Cabrera, Matt Jones, Henrik Norlander. That's not terrible. I've seen worse. Pretty good score. So I did do a giveaway for this. Please check the video to see where it is. I want to reward those that watch. This also for this week or whatever. Words. This optimizer, when I update it for the Masters, will be available for anyone following the basically conditionals that I said for how to actually get this optimizer. So again, I'm going to reward you guys for watching it. Follow along with what I said you had to do in order to get this optimizer for this week and the Masters. And yeah, I will email it to you guys. So with that being said, I think this one went a little bit better. There was a little slip up in the middle, or yeah, somewhere in the middle. This did run super long, 1 hour and 23 minutes. We'll see if you guys watch this. Hopefully you do. I would appreciate it. I mean, I am going to be appreciative to see all the numbers watching it. And if it's too long, I'll know next time. Let's shorten her up a little bit. But with that, thank you guys for watching. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And let's win some money this week. All right, bye.